Your name and occupation.
My name's Dabira Oluwa Kaoni. Yeah. I'm an entrepreneur.
And what do you give as your address?
185 Ikorodu Road.
Okay, thank you. Do you know why you are before this horrible court?
Yes, I do.
Why?
In respect to the recent NSAS protests and then afterwards massacre that took place on the 20th of October 2020.
Were you, are you yourself a participant in the protest?
Yes, I participated.
Where?
I was actually one of the coordinators, and then I also worked backstage. I was also in charge of crowd control at the protest ground on Lekki toll gate.
You mentioned.
Okay, I participated as at the backstage and crowd control and ensuring there's no casualty of any sort. Thank you.
Can you ask your member to a particular day, the 20th day of October 2020, and tell this honorable court what you know?
Yes, I can.
Please do tell the court.
Okay. I joined the protest on the 16th, from the 16th, and 16th of October,
Which year?
2020.
2020?
2020, yeah. At Lekki toll gate. And from that day, okay. From that day, what actually interests me most was because it was a peaceful protest and it was orderly, and we were passing a message across to the government that an end be put to police brutality, and also that our government should be accountable, and those were our agitations all through the protests up until 20th. I usually get to the protest ground at about 6:30 a.m. in the morning to set up the stage. So on that I'll call it on Fateful Day, on 20th of October, at about 11, after we were done with stage setup, we got an information that there was going to be curfew from 4 p.m. But that didn't stop us from continuing on our demands for good governance, transparency, and that end be put to police brutality. At the later hour of the day, we discovered that some part of the lights at exactly the toll point were off, and then not too long from that time, because that was actually the one with the address system at that point. Myself and DJ Switch and a few others were on stage.
Who is DJ Switch?
I think she's a popular DJ. I don't really know her full name, but I know her to be DJ Switch. She's a female DJ artist. So at about 3 thereabout, we got another information that the curfew has been moved till 9 p.m. 9 p.m. So that was about also the time we normally round up at the protest ground, but some people will stay back to secure and ensure that some that are sleeping over are safe. So we started. Yeah, there's some. I don't know there are some people that cleans the place, and also we have a whole lot of crowd from different places. I've met people that came from Ogun State because I was privileged to be at the backstage. People approach me a lot, so I know some people come all the way from Ogun State, Ibadan and all. So some of the bouncers will stay back. Some volunteer persons will stay back too. Voluntarily. So we jubilated like, okay, the curfew has been moved till 9 p.m. And at about exactly 4 p.m., I was with the public address system, and I was telling the crowd not to react if by any means we have the presence of the Nigerian police force or the armies, not to respond to any thing, and all we need to do is raise up our flags and sit down. For me, I feel the sitting position was a sober position, so I said, everybody sit down, raise your flags, and chant the Nigerian national anthem. So in the middle of it, we're having musics going on, and then at this point, myself and DJ Switch were the two ladies and a few other guys on the stage. And at about 6:45, thereabout, a lady by name Sarah ran to the stage and said, "The armies are here." I still head on to the public address system, and I turned back, but I was still shouting, like I was telling people started running helter-skelter, like confused. I was telling people to calm down, sit down. I don't think they were here to harm us. I was like, okay. And as we were doing that, we started hearing the gunshots. And I turned back, myself and Switch, we turned back from the stage and looked in the direction of Sandfield. I think that's adjacent to Oriental Hotel. Because we were on the stage, we could see afar. And we saw the army vans driving towards our direction and shooting at random at the same time. So on seeing that, I tried to want to understand why are they shooting? Like, are they shooting at us? That was why we turned back and were looking at them. And I saw them shooting up. They were shooting in two dimensions. They were shooting. And shooting directly at protesters. So at that point, I realized this is not a joke. So we jumped down from the truck because They were closing us up as they were shooting.
What was the reaction of the protesters at this action that the military have described?
Okay. As the shooting was going on, people were crying and they were chanting the national anthem. And I was shouting on the address system, hold your flag, just sit down. Like if we're on a sitting position, we may not be harmed. Okay, as the shooting were going on, people were shouting, crying, and most of them were chanting the national anthem, raising their flags. So I took my shield by the wheel of the truck we used as a stage, just to shield myself from the flying bullets. Because at that time, people were already falling. I was... I was in a confused state at that time, so I was still trying to put everything together. So from under the wheel, under the truck, I started peeping to know what the army guys were doing, and as they were shooting, they were still coming close. In a moment, the thoughts came like, if the bullets can be hitting people that are on the ground, it can eat you. Okay. Oh yeah, I was peeping to see how the armies were closing us up. So at that moment, a thought came to mind like, lift your head, that bullet can fly from under that place. So immediately I lift my head up and I sat facing the crowd. A guy sighted me and said, Mama, you are still here. And then he ran towards me and took a seat beside me at that open space. Before he would even before he would even get down, he screamed. He said, Mama, I'm quoting him, bullet don't hit me. So I looked at his side, I saw blood, and at that time I felt like I could be the next. So I told him, calm down, hold your breath. And then I said, I was at the very edge. People were ahead of me, and I'm like, I might be the next person. So I started dragging the guy with myself into the crowd. Then at this time,
This guy that you mentioned, do you know the name or do you know his name?
I don't know his name, but we were able to, some of the guys that were evacuating some people that were shot were able to take his video at some point.
protest happened?
Okay, so I tried to run into to drag myself and the guy into the crowd. And some of the other guys that were with us on stage were carrying the bodies that were already shot because people started trying to feel the pulse of people that were on ground, and when we see that they are really losing blood, we put them on the van, which was the stage. And then about 4 people were on that stage at that time. Two were lifeless on the ground. They were not responding. People were trying to do the pressure thing.
What do you mean by the pressure thing?
They were trying to resuscitate them, yeah. But they were not responding.
How many people did you see yourself?
No, we had 4 on the stage. Amongst that 4, there's a Baba that was wearing lace. I was the one that interviewed him before a few minutes before the incident. He was still moving. The other 3 were no longer moving. Then the 2 on the floor were no longer moving.
Were you still seeing the soldiers?
Yeah, the soldiers were still around. So DJ Switch she brought out her phone and she got up like she was going to start doing a live, and I started dragging her like, don't try it, don't go. People stand up and they get shot. And she insisted. She pulled out and she went off, and I couldn't sight her at that point anymore. And
do you have any encounter with these soldiers?
Yes, I did. While I was in the crowd, they were still shooting. Not until a while, a jeep drove in. And I think he stretched out something that looks like an handkerchief, a white handkerchief. I was in the crowd. It wasn't clear. It was already getting dark at this time. That was about past 7 to 8 or thereabout. And he stepped out of the person in the jeep stepped out. It happened to be another, maybe a senior army officer. And I think when he gave a sign to the people shooting, they stopped. They stopped shooting.
Did he say anything? You said he gave a sign. What type of?
I don't know what sign he gave, but at his presence and him waving that handkerchief of his, they stopped shooting and he tried to want to address us.
Who is this person?
So as he tried to approach the protesters, they were crying. They resisted him like, please don't talk to us. This should have been the first thing before shooting in the first. So everybody started resisting him.
Who is this person? Who is this person? Who is he?
That should be Omata. I don't know if he's a general. I don't know. I just know Omata is written on his shirt.
How do you come to know that he's
So,
Omata?
So
How do you come to know Miss Omaka?
that's what I'm explaining.
Okay.
Where I was hiding in the crowd, I noticed there was a calmer person that could be, is interactable. The way he was trying to calm us down and ask the other army guys that were shooting to stop shooting. So I crawled towards him and I raised my two hands. And I said, "Sir, please, bodies are on the floor. People are dying. We need ambulance." And then he asked me, "Who are you?" I said I was part of the coordinators on ground. So he said, "Where are the ambulances?" I told him, "We used to have ambulances on ground, but at that time..." Okay. So I told him we used to have ambulances on ground during the event. And he appeared to be a listening person and was like a messiah to us. Probably all of us would have been killed that night. So he said I should go get the ambulance. So I told him, I responded, I said, "Sir, I'm not going to get up because if I do, I've seen people, the armies tell people, stand up and go, and they shoot at them." I said, "So I won't get up on..." Except you give me, you ask one of the army officials to lead me outside the army barricade. So he said, "No, it's fine, you can go." At that point, he moved me a little from the toe to a place where we have a few lights up there. And then the other army official put his phone on me and started questioning me and said, "Are you not aware there's curfew?" So I said, "Yes, I'm aware there's curfew, but curfew was meant to be 9 p.m. The shooting started 6:45. So he said, "Okay, go get the ambulance." So the other guy, I don't know if he was filming me or he snapped a picture of me, I don't know, but he put his phone right before my face while the general matter was questioning me. So it led me out finally towards Sandfield. I came across some other protesters that were still hanging around on that Sandfield, and I was shouting, please, we need to get ambulance. Is there any hospital around here? And one of them put a call through. Two ambulance, like 10 minutes later, two ambulance arrived at that junction, and then I entered into one of them. We drove towards the armies that were at the barricade. And they turned us. Immediately we approached them, they asked where we were going, and they said we cannot access the place. They turned us back. They could do okay. I guess where they were and was far from where the stage was. They were actually the one at the barricade where I was led out to. So they were not close to where Omata is, to know that he was actually the one that gave me that permission to go get the ambulance. So they turned us back, and then I went back the fence. I was just helpless.
Where was there about at that time?
When I left the place, when he had somebody to lead me out, that was the last time I set my eyes on him. I left him there at the place of event, at the toll gate. He was not at the barricade where they turned us back. So I took a sheet by the fence, and for a while, I think the shooting stopped. I guess it was still around at that time. After a few hours or minutes, I can't be consistent with the timing because I wasn't looking at my time. I started hearing another set of gunshots. I don't know how. I was just at that fence. I came across a lady by name Victoria Oniru. She was also on the protest ground before the shooting. Our house was directly behind the Lekki toll gate, and she asked me to come take a shit with her. And she was in panic too. She was like, I left a few minutes ago. I never knew this would happen. So we're just there. We couldn't sleep. We came out. We stayed by the fence. The shooting continued, but not as frequent as when I was on ground. I don't know who was shooting at that time, but I was hearing the gunshot because we were by the fence. So
around when did you take your leave from the scene that night from the Lekki project? Do you remember?
I can't be very consistent with the timing because I wasn't looking at my wristwatch, but I know that should be around past 7, 8, thereabout. So the next morning, we didn't even sleep. We were just at that hiding. The next morning, we decided to say, okay, let's see if we can still get some people to the hospital. Let's see what the position of things are like. We tried approaching the toll gate. The shooting was still going on as at the next morning. There were still a few shootouts. So I went to an uncompleted building behind. Just for me to see if there were people that needs help or bodies. But to my greatest surprise, I only could see blood everywhere, beds. I think those are these halls or what they call them. I don't know, those big beds. They were just roving. There were many. They were roving they were roving and they were coming down, picking things. I don't know what they were picking, but it was more like a deserted place where I think they were feeding on the bloods because we were able to take pictures of blood stains on the floor. Yes, ravens. No, the black ones. I can't remember. So there were press persons on ground on that time, and they were looking for people to ask questions. One of them approached me and was like, "I saw you on the stage. What happened?" So I gave a brief of what I saw.
I want you to say something about what has been your experience after this day as an mental protester and coordinator. What has been your experience?
I'm actually going there because from that morning, some of the people that took the people to the hospital were communicating with me. They also informed me that people have been moved from hospitals like Reddington and blah, blah, blah to an unknown destination. Reddington Hospital, sorry, to an unknown place. So I told them to take videos of the vehicles that were moving them.
What about yourself?
From October 20th, 2020 till date, I've not been to my house. From that day, I've been seeing through the welfare of the victims, had to make food, clothing, medications that the government will not give for free available for them.
Do you have any safety concerns for yourself?
Yeah, I got a call, a threat call, like a few weeks after that protest, from one strange voice. I took that on record. I think someone sitting beside me took that on record. And then like last month, I was with one of my friend. He was also at the protest ground. We were driving for an interview, and we also noticed a car tailing us. I didn't take it serious though.